Welcome into the Rumbles of Red. I'm your host, Trevor Steinbacher. Back here for our fourth week in a row, Monday nights at 8:30, coming to you live on YouTube. And today, we come live on Facebook and Twitter as well, mixing it up a little bit, hoping to get out to all of you, the Rumbling Clan, in more ways than one. You can also follow me on Apple and Spotify podcasts, where you can find this tomorrow morning. If you're on any of those sites, hit the subscribe button. Give me a 5-star review if you would. And if you're on YouTube tonight, hit that like button and jump into the comments. We're going to start tonight with a comment because we've got somebody already here asking questions, and that's what I want. Ask some questions. Let me help you. Let me help you win some fantasy football. Let me help you get better this week, season long, DFS, whatever it may be. And we're going to talk Monday Night Football, DFS. We're going to talk the main slate yesterday. Cash game stayed hot. I got a tournament win that was pretty good. We'll talk through that and some of the tilt there. We're going to give out some awards today. Who's the MVP of the fantasy football so far this year? You can give me your MVP for the NFL as well. I assume that's what this comment is. No question on MVP, Kyler Murray. But who's your MVP for fantasy? Maybe that's Kyler Murray. We're going to talk about that coming up. I'll give you some waiver wire ads and, of course, some streaming quarterbacks and a quick look ahead to next week's main slate, usually cash game when I talk about next week's main slate. But let's open up here with a question. Need some insight on a waiver wire pickup. Need 2 tight ends to replace Gronk and Thomas, but might have to give up a second quarterback on all 3 teams and need some advice. Well, tight end gets a little hairy in a hurry, right? Once you get past the top guys, there's not a lot left. But I did some digging in here before I came on. And one guy really jumps out to me, and that's Dalton Schultz. Only rostered in 21.5% of leagues here on ESPN. Dalton Schultz, yeah, he's been hot the last 2 weeks, but really, if you look at his stats all 4 weeks, he's being targeted at a great pace. You take out the Chargers game in week 2 where he only had 2 targets, but he had 6 targets in week 1, 8 targets in week 3, 7 targets this past week, 6 catches, 58 yards and a touchdown. He's got 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks. The touchdowns are going to regress a little bit, but it's a target share that we're looking for right now. We want to see those targets, especially at the tight end position, when we know there's not a lot of options out there. So that's the first tight end I'd be going to. If I have Gronk and he's hurt, or if I lost Logan Thomas, I'd be looking at Dalton Schultz. Another guy I think is kind of flown under the radar. He had 1 big week last week. That's Tyler Conklin. He's the number 1 in Minnesota. After Irv Smith went down, Conklin stepped in. He's the man there. 4, 4, 8, and 6. That's his target shares the first 4 weeks. You like to see that a lot. Again, only rostered in less than 0.25% of ESPN leagues. So just another guy that you can go on there and look at and see if he's available in your league, and a guy that I think I would be comfortable streaming week to week, because that's what you're going to have to do. If you lose your top tight end, if you lose Gronk for multiple weeks, which I think Gronk's going to be back. It seemed like he was close this week. So don't give up on him. I think he'll be back. Broken ribs suck, but most of these NFL players eventually play through it. But just stream your tight ends. Find who's got the best matchup. You're probably not going to find a season-long replacement. So you're probably going to have to mix and match each and every week. Thank you for the question. Those are the questions I like to answer. Just try to give you a little bit of advice, help you out with your specific situations, because I can talk for an hour, but I don't always know exactly what your situations are. So throw in those questions. Also been battling a little bit of sickness today, so bear with me a little bit. Let's talk Monday Night DFS. Had a nice lightning delay tonight, so I didn't come live on at halftime. I think it just now hit the second quarter, so keep me updated on the game, how that's going. Bring up what I'm looking at so far. Played my 3 games, my 3 lineups. My first lineup here, Justin Herbert in the captain spot. I knew it was going to be popular. Of course it was going to be popular. Almost 50% here in the MVP spot. So I wanted to get different with Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. That did get a little different, not too much, but I got different with Kenyon Drake and Bryan Edwards. Neither one of them have seen anything at all. This Raiders offense has really looked pretty poor so far through the first quarter. But this is my best one I have going so far. A lot of game left to be played. I got on here earlier, and I was tied with multiple people. This guy's one of them, and I thought, man, I thought I was duplicated like 4 times, but I wasn't. I have nobody else has this lineup that I have. Actually, I looked at all 3 of my lineups. Nobody has any of the lineups I have. That makes me feel really good about the lineups that I built because, again, 100 people in this league, in this contest, 100 lineups, you don't want to see yourself getting duplicated. And luckily, I'm not duplicated again this week. Lineup number 2, I wanted to get some Mike Williams. He was really expensive this week. What more expensive than Keenan Allen? So I assumed less people would go to him. He's only 35% rostered. As you see here, I think Keenan Allen was 45%. And he's only 7% captain. I talk about it every single Monday night. When I play single game slates, I always put a wide receiver in the captain position. And when you do that, you always pair him with the quarterback. Unfortunately, the first pass went to Donald Parham, so not to Mike Williams. So this one's not doing anything at all right now. And again, these Las Vegas pass catchers have not done anything so far. So this lineup looks like trash, but not as much trash as this last lineup looks. Went Darren Waller in the MVP spot. He's only 6%. So I like that a lot as well. I love getting these sub 10% guys in the MVP spot. Hopefully he gets a couple points. It's not going to matter what his percentage is if he doesn't get any damn points. But Jalen Guyton's got a couple end arounds, so he's got 20 rushing yards. That's nice. And then I played a second Kenyon Drake that probably is going to bite me in the ass here before too long. But I like this one as well. Of course, you've got your pass catcher and your quarterback. And I did want one lineup with both quarterbacks just in case it becomes a shootout. It doesn't look like that right now. The Chargers went right down and scored, and it made it look like it might be a shootout. But currently, doesn't look like too much of a shootout. But the total was 51.5. So I wanted both quarterbacks in a total that high on a Monday Night Football game in a dome that apparently still takes lightning. So we'll see what that means. We'll see. We'll see how that goes the rest of the night. I don't know if there's any more lightning coming, but that's what we're looking at Monday Night Football so far. 3 lineups. Again, my Justin Herbert lineup looks the best, but I'm sitting in 22nd place right now, so I've got a long ways to go to get to the top. If you look at the first place guys here, yeah, I'm a good 6 points behind them. This guy here, I don't know his name. PDT. He's always in these every week with me, usually winning them. So I need to get to know that guy. Let's see. Winning lineup so far, Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, but he had Parham. So that's a nice get right there. It's a good way to get different with the most popular MVP. You get different with a 2% drafted guy, and he's already caught a touchdown. That's legit. That's a good lineup there. All right, let's jump into the cash game recap. My cash game has stayed hot. I've cashed all 4 weeks so far. Last week was kind of a 50% cash. It was really weird. I was right on the line. But this week was awesome. This week, I should have played my cash game in every single contest I played because it would have cashed everywhere, every tournament, everything. It was tough because I really debated coming off Derrick Henry. I was looking through it and I thought Derrick Henry at what was he 10-2 was very expensive. And if I come off of Derrick Henry, I could have ended up sneaking Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams in here, but then I would have had to come off of Patrick Mahomes as well. If that was the case, I was going to go down to Dak and probably play CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb did not do any good this week. Ultimately, I was tinkering for an hour and a half Sunday morning, and every lineup that I looked at, I just didn't like near as much as I liked this lineup. And I don't know why. It just didn't feel right. And so I ended up making the right decision. I stuck with my gut this week. My gut is not nearly right enough times, but this week it was. I just killed it. Mahomes went off. Tyreek went off. 3 touchdowns, 186 yards. Everybody was on Travis Kelce this week. I did not play Kelce. Instead, I went down to Conklin, played Derrick Henry. I told you last week on Monday night, during my show last week when I started looking forward to week 4, I said I really liked Jonathan Taylor. I liked his price. I liked the matchup he had. I went with it, put my money where my mouth was. He did well, 18-9. At a 66, he nearly 3 times his value. You love that in a cash game. Wanted to play Corey. Guys, we got to play against this Tennessee these Tennessee defensive backs. I think every week we got to find somebody to play against them. They are bad. Corey Davis showed up. Only 4 catches, but he had the 1 bomb. I lost on my survivor pool. So if you don't know, I run a survivor pool. This year, God, I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe 115 people are in it. And I lost. Me and about 30 others had Tennessee. So that was heartbreaking. Maybe next year for the survivor pool for me. But Corey Davis, he did well for me. That's what I like to see there. And then so in the afternoon, I could play a very popular Darrell Henderson, knowing I had to go really cheap. I didn't have much money left for the afternoon, which is why you see Ayuk and Henderson. 161. This is a 100-person cash game here, and I took first place. When you're playing cash, it doesn't matter if you're first or 50th. They just pay the top half, which is why I like some tournament plays better, because it changes where you're at. But we'll take another great cash week this week. And we had a really good tournament week too. We had a really good tournament week this week with one lineup. I threw together a last-minute lineup. I won a little bit of money last week, had a little extra in the bank. I thought, I'm going to play this $25, 47 entries. I'm going to play it. So I threw it in there. I wanted to game stack 2 very particular games, the Chiefs-Eagles and the Vikings-Browns. The Vikings-Browns had the best game score per established run. What they look at, the players, the salaries, the game conditions. They look at everything. And they compile it all. And they had the best game score, right? Cheap players in a game they thought would go to a high total. Well, the total didn't get as high as we wanted it. And I brought back the wrong players from Philadelphia. If I bring back Devontae Smith in this lineup, I'm easily taking home the top prize. Unfortunately, I didn't. I brought back Jalen Reagor and Miles Sanders, so I really game stacked it here. 47 people in this league, in this contest, so you can really get different easily. And for me, I just wanted to get 2 games right. So I went Mahomes and Hill and brought a double back with Sanders and Reagor. And then the other game, the Browns and Vikings, I took Kareem Hunt with Justin Jefferson and Tyler Conklin. So I took 3 and 4 players from 2 different games. One game hit. The other game, Kareem Hunt and Justin Jefferson actually did everything I needed them to do in this lineup. Obviously, Mahomes and Hill did everything I needed them to do. And then in the afternoon, I had Aaron Jones and the Green Bay Packers defense, and I thought I was in it. I was in it. Check this out. 5:21 in the afternoon, I'm winning. Taking home the top prize at $300. $25 entries, taking home the top 5 of $300. I am pumped. I am sweating. I am texting people. About this time, my wife left the house. I think she was already tired of listening to me talk about it. Oh man, I just wanted it. I wanted to take down the bigger prize, but really I just wanted the pride of taking down one of these tournaments. Well, as you end up seeing, I end up with 4th place. After I took that screenshot, Aaron Jones fumbles the ball, and he barely touches it again the rest of the game. About that same time, Deebo Samuel scores his 2nd touchdown. And then the Pittsburgh Steelers score a touchdown to get to 17 points. So now I'm losing points from the Green Bay Packers defense while they're gaining points on Deebo Samuel. It was frustrating. I ended up landing right here in 3rd place or 4th place. It's still a healthy payday. Still made $75 on the contest. Oh man, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I really do. If you want to go play a contest with have less than 50 players in it, I really encourage you to try to find 2 games that you just want to target. Just go after these 2 games and really stack them up if you can. Because now all you have to do is get 2 games right. You don't have to get the one-off play from every single game. I say that. I mean, let's look at the winners here. He's got Deebo Samuel right here. Deebo Samuel's cheaper than Aaron Jones, guys. $500 cheaper. I could have played Deebo. Obviously, I didn't expect a 31-point outing, but Seattle's another defense we just need to target every week. You see, he went Mahomes, Kelsey. Doesn't bring any. Oh, he brings no, he doesn't bring anybody back. He's got a Corey Davis, Nick Westbrook-Kine, little skinny stack. He's got Westbrook-Kine in the flex and Deebo Samuel in the wide receiver position. So there's that, I guess. Not something you're supposed to do. You always put your last guys in the flex, but it's all good. He's got Kareem Hunt as well. Zach Moss had a good game. There's not a lot of correlation here. When you're playing in tournaments, you want to get a lot of correlation. Mahomes and Hill with a Sanders and Rager bring back. Now, I was wrong. I was wrong with the Rager bring back, but there's correlation here. If Mahomes and Hill are going to score enough points for me to get to where I need to get, then the Eagles are also going to score. That's the whole idea behind this. And the Eagles did score. They just didn't score with the guys I brought back. And then Hunt and Jefferson, just a little skinny stack. And then, your running back defense is always kind of a nice secondary stack. I'm going to give you one for next week that I already like. I like the prices of both the running back and the defense. It's just a nice secondary stack. If your defense is doing really well, you're leading the game. Maybe you're going to lean on the run game a little bit more. It worked out. This worked out really well. It just didn't work out as nicely as this guy's lineup worked out. So it was overall a good week. I want to check out our bankroll so far. Look, I'm not bankrolling big money by any means, but it's gone pretty well so far. I have cashed $85 through 4 weeks just in my cash game lineups. And now with the big hit this week with the $100, I'm only $20 behind on my tournaments in main slate. So through the main slate, I'm only 65. I've made $65 so far. And if I go to the next 4 weeks and make another $65, I'm going to be very happy, right? That's all we're trying to do. You have to remember, if you're playing DFS cash games, it's going to be slow. Look, I'm putting $35 in, winning 66, coming out $31 ahead. It's going to be a slow grind. It's going to be a slow build, but that's okay. That's okay. Right now, this is what's carrying me. Because if I wasn't winning my cash games, I'd be down $20. Okay, so it's going to be a slow grind, but I definitely, I would say if you're new to DFS, play cash. go to cash, play cash. Let's talk offline if you want to talk some more, but I want to talk some cash game with you because that's the way you make it. That's the way you grind through it and make a little money over the course of 18 weeks. And then let's set us up for the playoffs and maybe hit something big in the playoffs. It's been a fun 4 weeks though. Hopefully you guys enjoy talking through DFS. I enjoy it, so I want to always kind of talk with you guys a little bit about it and keep you kind of understanding where I'm at, because I'm going to come in here and I'm going to give you some plays, and I want you to see that I'm using the plays that I'm giving you. I'm using the plays that I'm telling you about. I'm backing it up with my own lineups. Let's get into Red Six Pack. This week on Red Six Pack, we're going to do a little different. We're not going to go the top 6 things that I learned this week. Rather, we're gonna give away some awards. We're gonna give away top 6 awards from the first quarter of the season. Let's get started. Number 1. Going the dumpster dive of the year. This is a player who wasn't drafted. This is a player who you picked up off your waivers, and he is killing it through 4 weeks, and that's Cordero Patterson. Not really on many people's radars. Not really, he came in as the number 2 guy behind Mike Davis, but a lot of people were touting Mike Davis. He's got no competition there. It's Cordero Patterson behind him. Well, since week 2, he's caught at least 5 balls in every game. His season low on points was just week 1 with 8 points. And now he had a week 4 explosion. He's 6th overall in non-PPR. 6th overall in PPR with non-quarterbacks. If we take quarterbacks out of there, 6th overall in PPR standings. That's pretty good for a guy who wasn't drafted. You went dumpster diving. You found Cordero Patterson, and you've got yourself a running back 1 so far. I think he's an RB2 rest of season. Think you can continue to play him every week, at least until we see anything different from this team. But right now, he's about the only person producing anything on the Atlanta Falcons football team. So, Cordero Patterson, congratulations. You get the dumpster dive of the year through the first quarter of the season. Number 2, let's go rookie of the year. Do you have a rookie of the year yet? We're talking fantasy here. I had to give it to both Najee Harris and Jamar Chase. They're too close still to pick one over the other so far. Both of these guys, you sit them and you forget them in your lineup right now. And they were both guys that everyone talked about. Very, very highly touted through the offseason. Dynasty leagues and season-long formats alike. In fact, Chase may have had more doubt coming into the season than Najee Harris. But both guys have dominated for you. And they're living up to the expectations through the first 4 games of the year. Now, there might be other players to prevail as rookies through the next, 4 to 6 games. There's a couple rookies coming off IR. Maybe some rookies getting more opportunities. But right now, through 4 games, it's a 2-headed race for Fantasy Rookie of the Year. It's a 2-headed race. It's Najee Harris, it's Jamar Chase, and it's really nobody else. Kyle Pitts is nowhere to be found right now if we're looking at just rookies and Fantasy Rookie of the Year. It's Najee Harris and Jamar Chase. Let's look at number 3. Disappointment of the year. Who's the fantasy disappointment of the year for you? Look, we're taking ADP into consideration here. And I took injuries out of this one. Right? You could easily say, well, maybe Dalvin Cook or Christian McCaffrey. I drafted them in top 3 picks, but they've had some injuries. And it's really hard for me to say someone's a disappointment when they've had injuries. So I wanted to make sure I found a guy who's played in all the games. A player that was drafted high, second, first 2 rounds, maybe getting in a 3rd round, and a guy who's played in all 4 games. And my fantasy disappointment of the year thus far is George Kittle. He ended up as ADP 26 overall. You probably snagged him in the back end of your second round. That's where I saw him go in almost all of my drafts. Drafted as the third tight end off the board. Again, sometimes the second tight end off the board, depending on whether you like Kittle or Waller more. But you drafted him as one of the elites you wanted on your team. There was 3 guys you wanted: Kittle, Waller, Kelsey. If you didn't get Kelsey in the first round, you went for Waller or Kittle in the second round, and George Kittle has sorely disappointed. Through 4 games, he's failed to surpass 12 PPR points 3 times. 75% of his games, he's not even hitting a dozen points. He's yet to find pay dirt this year. Don't like that from an elite tight end. He's caught 4 passes more than 4 passes just one time this year. So you're not getting the reception volume either. He's currently sitting at tight end 6. Now, in a vacuum, tight end 6 sounds okay. Tight end 6 is fine, right? That's a top tight end. But he's not the tight end you drafted. You drafted him to be a top 3 tight end. You drafted him to push Waller and Kelsey to be the number 1 tight end. George Kittle has finished outside the top 15 twice already this year at tight end. My hope is if Trey Lance gets to start this week, he'll focus a little bit more on George Kittle. George Kittle did have 11 targets last week. So the optics are there for him to pull this out and turn this thing around. But right now, through 4 games, he's been a disappointment. He has not been the tight end that you had hoped and drafted. Number 5. Number 4. Worst quarterback of the year. So the other 4 out of the 6, I just talk mainly about skill players, not about quarterbacks. So I put 2 quarterback ones in here. Worst quarterback of the year. This is the best position, right? It's the most fun position to talk about. And the worst quarterback of the year so far goes to Aaron Rodgers. Currently, before tonight's game started, he was quarterback 15 through 4 games. My assumption is after tonight, he'll be quarterback 17. Both of these guys are close enough that they could probably surpass him in fantasy points, total fantasy points through 4 games. He's completed 80 passes on 124 attempts for 897 yards. He's thrown 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. 18 different quarterbacks have already surpassed 1,000 passing yards. And Aaron Rodgers, reigning MVP, has 897. It's just not the offense that we saw last year. We're just not seeing them click like we saw them click last year. Yet to hit 1,000 yards while 18 other quarterbacks have already surpassed 1,000 yards. Sam Darnold, Taylor Heineke, Jared Goff. Just a few names of quarterbacks who have had a better fantasy start to the season through 4 weeks. I'm not saying they're better NFL quarterbacks. I'm not saying they're better for the future. But right now, if we're looking at this season, in a nutshell, just in these 4 games, those guys have had better seasons than Aaron Rodgers, who sits at QB 15. You drafted Aaron Rodgers in the 4th, maybe 5th round. He's the 5th quarterback off the board, according to Pro Fantasy Pros. The 5th quarterback off the board, and he's currently sitting at quarterback 15. You put a lot of draft capital in this guy. You could have drafted a lot of really great wide receivers around him, and now you're sitting on a guy who has sorely disappointed you. He is my worst quarterback this year thus far. Number 5, the best quarterback of the year. Of course, we got to flip the script. Let's talk a little bit more positive here with this one and our last one. The best quarterback this season, when in relative to where you drafted him and where he stands through four games, is Jalen Hurts. Drafted as the 12th quarterback off the board in season-long drafts. He's currently sitting at QB3, only behind Patrick Mahomes and Kyler Murray. 2 guys that you drafted really high. Two guys who are probably the first and second, if not third, quarterbacks off the board in your drafts. And Jalen Hurts is sitting right behind him. And I took Jalen Hurts here for the best quarterback over guys like Sam Darnold, Daniel Jones, and Kirk Cousins. I must say Captain Kirk Cousins. Because you drafted Jalen Hurts to be a good quarterback, and he has stepped up to the plate and done that. These other guys are having great seasons, but you didn't necessarily draft them, and you're probably not playing them week to week right now. Jalen Hurts, you drafted, and he's in your starting lineup every week, and he has come through for you. Quarterback 3 through 4 games. 226 yards and a touchdown on the ground thus far. He's got a massive floor rushing and just 2 turnovers. His connection with Devontae Smith looks great. It's growing. It's going to continue to get better. And this Eagles defense is bad. So they're going to be playing from behind a lot. That should just keep pushing Jalen Hurts to continue to throw the ball, continue to run the ball. And I think he could push for QB1, overall QB1 status for the rest of the season. All right, number 6 here. Let's go fantasy MVP. We're talking draft capital and his position so far. Who is your fantasy MVP? Oh, Jared Cook, a touchdown for the Chargers. Are you kidding me? Both tight ends? I didn't play either of these tight ends. Both tight ends with a touchdown so far for the Chargers. Thanks for that update. Sam Darnold, 1A. I'm telling you, I completely agree. He could have been the best quarterback. He was on the list. He was on the short list. But again, you're not playing him every week. He's only rostered in like 30% of leagues. I streamed him last week. And I think that's why I can't put him there, because he hasn't been in your starting lineup each week. Jalen Hurts has. Or at least he should have. Jalen Hurts has. Who's your fantasy MVP? Let me know in the comments. If you're here with us today, thank you. If you're listening on YouTube, watching on YouTube, hit that like button and throw in the comments there. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, welcome in. Join us over on YouTube. You can throw in some comments and interact with the show, interact with me. Love to hear from you. Who's your fantasy MVP through 4 games? My fantasy MVP, when I consider draft capital and the results we've seen so far, is Cooper Kupp. It's hard not to, right? Mid 4th round pick. Remember, per Fantasy Pros, Aaron Rodgers was being drafted just after Cooper Kupp. So you get Cooper Kupp, mid 4th round pick, wide receiver 17 in ADP, 30 catches, 431 yards, and 5 touchdowns. 5 times he's already found pay dirt through 4 games. 102.6 PPR points. He is the number 1 wide receiver. Tyreek Hill had a great game this past week and tried to catch him, but Cooper Kupp still edges him out. And you took Tyreek Hill in the 1st round. You took Stephon Diggs high, Devontae Adams high, and you took Cooper Kupp in the 4th round. He is smashing. Yeah, this past week it didn't go as well, but when you look at his stat line through 4 games, he is absolutely the MVP for fantasy football, in my opinion. 4th round wide receiver, who's the wide receiver 1 through 4 games. I don't think he's going to slow down. I don't know if you can compare him to Stephon Diggs of last year. Diggs was drafted in the 6th round, a little bit later than Cooper Kupp, but Cooper Kupp was kind of left for dead a little bit after last season. So he's got some similarities to Diggs in that sense, and let's hope he continues to ride hot. All right, let's talk about waiver wire ads. These are guys who are rostered in less than 50% of rosters on ESPN. Today I've got a quarterback for you that I really like and a couple wide receivers. At the top, I talked about a couple tight ends that you could be streaming each week. And Tyler Conklin, Dalton Schultz, maybe Donald Parham, maybe Jared Cook. I think Jared Cook's rostered more than 50% of leagues. I'm stuck changing every week, which is fine because bye weeks are coming. Yeah. I'm telling you, quarterbacks and tight ends, you can change them out every week. I played Sam Darnold in a league this week in a 14-team league. He was like 10% rostered last week. I'll play that guy. It's all about matchups with tight ends and quarterbacks. So, yes. Let's talk about a quarterback here, though. Waiver wire ads. He's not my number one ad. He is I would definitely go at him as a quarterback. If you're needing some quarterback help, Daniel Jones, 23.5% rostered. He's a top 6 quarterback performer in total points through 4 games. It might not be pretty. The wins might not be showing up in the win column, but Daniel Jones has performed well this year. And he continues to improve each week. Saquon's back, healthy, getting more and more opportunities every single week, which I think helps Daniel Jones tremendously. Now there's an actual run game there. You have to load up the box to stop Saquon. And you also have another easy outlet in Saquon because he can do anything with it once he gets the ball in his hands. But more importantly than all of what we've seen so far, 4 of his next 5 games are against the Cowboys, the Panthers, the Chiefs, and the Raiders. He's got 1 Rams game, I think, sprinkled in there. We can sit him on our bench for that game. This isn't a guy that you need to stream every week right now. You can add him and start him for the next 5 weeks. If you're streaming quarterbacks, you want to find situations like this to where you can stream the same guy for multiple weeks. That doesn't mean he has to be your starter long term. And if some reason his season takes a turn for the worst, okay, you drop and you pick up the next guy. But right now, I love his schedule coming up. I'm not saying they're going to win a lot of games, which is probably for the best with a quarterback, right? Because now they're playing from behind. Danny Dimes will have plenty of passing volume. He's got a great schedule, and there's a lot of bad secondaries coming up. Go get Daniel Jones. Go get Daniel Jones. If you're streaming quarterbacks, this is the guy to go pick up this week, and then just hold him for a while. What if you drafted Ryan Tannehill? I would rather have Daniel Jones than Ryan Tannehill right now. Wouldn't you? New York Giants against the Cowboys. I talk about scary. Are you talking that it's going to be scary against the Cowboys? Because, yeah, Diggs is a stud cornerback, but look what Sam Darnold just did against this team. I think the Cowboys are better than they were last year, and I think that's maybe scaring people off. They're not a good defense. The Eagles are not that great. Maybe that's why, because everybody saw them on Monday night. Now, the Chiefs made Jalen Hurts and the Eagles look phenomenal on offense, but I'm not scared of Dallas or Carolina. Definitely not scared of the Chiefs, and I'm not scared of the Raiders. So Daniel Jones is running hot. Put him in your lineups. Get him in there. Go pick him up. 23.5% rostered in ESPN leagues. Next up, Emmanuel Sanders. I talked about him last week. I guess he's just going to ride on the waiver wire another week. 45% rostered. I don't understand how he's not rostered in at least 50% of ESPN leagues. I think he should be rostered in 100% of ESPN leagues. He breaks out last week in week 3 with a performance of 26 PPR points, and he follows that up with a 5 for 73, another 13 points and PPR scoring. He needs to be on your roster. People, bye weeks are coming up. You're going to have some of these great wide receivers not playing. And then you're going to look at your bench and you're going to see Kadarius Toney. I don't know. Who's on your bench right now? And why isn't it Emmanuel Sanders? You don't have to start him right now. Maybe you don't believe in him, but he's got at least 6 targets in each game. He's flex worthy, especially once the bye weeks start coming in. Okay, that's right now. You should already have him on your team. He should already be on your team. There's probably not a lot of better wide receivers on your bench, but I'm going to make it even more juicy here. I just talked to the Chiefs defense. They're bad. We all know that, right? Well, Sunday Night Football, Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Emmanuel Sanders come to Kansas City, and they're going to probably eat. And then next week, they go to Tennessee against a really bad defensive backfield, and they're going to eat. So he is a starter the next 2 weeks, no matter what the bye weeks look for you. Go pick up Emmanuel Sanders this week. He is my number 1 waiver wire ad. He is rostered in less than 50% of ESPN leagues. All right, and then my last guy here is a little deeper. I wanted to get a little deeper, but I really like this guy. And I've actually already picked him up in a few leagues that I felt like I had a bench spot for him. So if you're playing with me, I might already have him, but it's no guarantee. So go check it out. Go see. Waiver wires, everybody's up for grabs. Go get them. And that's Rashad Bateman, 12%. 12% of ESPN leagues. It's kind of a name that we've forgotten. He's been on the IR to start the season. He's a rookie wide receiver. He was getting some buzz there in the preseason before he went down. He's a talented player. He could really change the course of somebody's season this year. He could really change the course of your season-long team. If you're in a dynasty league and some reason he's on the waiver wire, he's spend whatever fab you want on him because he needs to be there. But yeah, go pick this guy up. He's not on the IR anymore. He probably is going to be activated early this week, as early as this week. Get ahead of your league. Put him on your bench. He's not a guy you're going to be starting over the next couple weeks. You're going to have to give him some time to get acclimated into this offense, but he has great upside. And he could be a guy that we're talking about halfway through the season that you wish you had on your team for a playoff push. Every year there's always that guy. There's always a couple of those players who you get late in the season or they turn on hot, especially rookies. This is a guy I think could be one of those guys. Go ahead and add him, put him on your bench. All right, let's move on to Drop City, baby. Couple names here. First one's very unfortunate. DJ Chark fractured his left ankle. He's now on IR. I don't even think this is a guy that you need to keep an IR spot for. There's other guys like Michael Gallup that should come back at some point this season. Jeff Wilson, Elijah Mitchell. There's other guys that you need to use IR spots for. DJ Chark is not one of them. I don't think he's worth even keeping on the RI spot. It's unfortunate. He was running pretty good with Trevor Lawrence, but go ahead and let him go. It's time to send him to Drop City, baby. And of course, the sad one is Tyson Williams. Rostered in 70% of leagues. He was a healthy scratch in week 4. What are we going to do here? We can't sit him on our bench. We can't hold a guy who's not even going to play. It's hard to drop running backs right now because they're so thin. Monitor this situation. But with each game, his yards per carry dwindled, and it really appears that the Ravens are not happy with this guy's production. I mean, he was a healthy scratch, and they played a combination of Latavius Murray and Le'Veon Bell beside Lamar Jackson. So I don't need him on my team. I don't want him on my team. I'm dropping Tyson Williams. Tyson Williams, welcome to Drop City, baby. Do you guys have questions about who you can drop? Let me know. All right, let's get to Premature Drop. Every week I give you a player who I think that when you look at him, you might want to drop him. And when I look at this player, I want to drop him. Well, I don't want to drop him because I don't have any shares of him because I don't like him and I've never drafted him. I always think he's drafted too high. His name is Miles Sanders. What a disgusting 4 weeks for Miles Sanders. And it's not Miles Sanders' fault. He's not being fed the football. There's no volume here for the guy. He's yet to find the end zone. He's yet to rush for over 75 yards in a game. But I think you have to hold him. Because of the draft capital you spend on him, you might even have to start him. But don't drop him yet. Don't do it. Like I said before, when I was talking about Tyson Williams, it's so hard to drop running backs right now because it's such a thin position. You've got a couple of top guys that are injured. It gets dusty in a hurry. And I think that although I would not be starting him in most all circumstances, I would try to find somebody else to start over him. For right now, you can't drop him. Find somebody else to start. Let's see what it happens. Let's see if something turns around there in Philadelphia. Through 4 games, you haven't seen it. And then also, if you can trade him, trade him. You know, in one of our big dynasty leagues, the manager who has him, tried to trade him all offseason. I couldn't blame him. I mean, I wasn't going to touch him, but I couldn't blame him. He never ended up getting the deal done because he was way overpriced. But he's not a guy that I want. He's a guy I would absolutely be selling. I don't even care if it's a sell low. I don't want him. I don't want him on my team. We got an update here. Eckler with a touchdown pass. Who did he throw it to? Did he catch it? Or did he throw it? Let me know. Did he catch it or throw it? Man, Austin Eckler. If he caught it, that might be good for my Herbert double stack. All right, let's hope you get ready for week 5. Still here with some streaming quarterbacks. This might be the best segment I've had all year. I've told you to start to stream Kirk Cousins and Derek Carr. And last week I told you to stream Sam Darnold. And they're continuing to hit every single week. It's awesome. Makes me feel good. But here's some streaming quarterbacks for week 5. Trevor Lawrence, 46% roster in ESPN leagues. A drop candidate from a week ago, right? I did tell you, I said, you don't need him in season long. He's not going to be a starter week to week, which is why he was a drop candidate. But this week, he's now a streaming candidate. He's definitely not startable week to week. But a week 5 matchup against the Tennessee Titans. I've talked about the Titans so much this week. I'm frustrated because I lost in Survivor Pool. I played Corey Davis in my cash, and he killed it because he played against the Titans. This Titans defense is horrendous. Terrible with a capital T. And this Trevor Lawrence matchup is spicy. He looked decent on Thursday night, right? I thought he looked good. They scored that touchdown at the end of the second quarter to go up 21-0 before halftime. I think they win that football game. Big stop by the Bengals and big comeback by Joe Burrow. Got to give them credit. But Trevor Lawrence looked good, and now he gets this dismal Tennessee defense who just made Zach Wilson look like Brett Favre. Hell yeah. Give me some Trevor Lawrence this week. Give me some Trevor Lawrence this week. I don't know who Sam Darnold plays. I didn't look that up, but if he's got a bad matchup, that's one of the streaming quarterbacks I'm in right now. I'll definitely pivot to Trevor Lawrence if he's available. The other guy, I've told you about him before. His name is Trey Lance. He's a rookie quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, and he's rostered in less than 20% of ESPN leagues. I told you a couple weeks ago, go pick him up, put him at the end of your bench. He could be a game changer at the end of this season. He's potentially in line to start. When I When I was going through my streams of the week, I thought for sure he'd be the starter. Right before I went on tonight, I did see that Shanahan came out and he said he's not guaranteed Garoppolo is not going to be playing this week, but we'll see. We'll see if he does. If he doesn't, Trey Lance, cue him up in line to start against the Arizona Cardinals. This week, when he came in relief for the injured the injured Garoppolo, 9 of 18, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, 7 carries, 41 yards. 41 yards. That's 4 points easy right there. Just in rushing. This is the last chance for you to get Trey Lance. I really believe in this. If he starts this game, I don't believe Jimmy Garoppolo comes back. What if he starts this game and goes and beats the 4-0 Arizona Cardinals? How are they going to give the ball back to Jimmy Garoppolo? Because he's injured? So you got to give it back? I think the biggest problem, the hardest part about it is going to be they go into a bye week 6. So if Trey Lance comes out and wins the game, you got 2 weeks to recover. They come out now and say, hey, look, we're not going to play Garoppolo. Trey Lance is going to start. Garoppolo will start in week 7 no matter what. Maybe. But I think it's going to be hard for them not to start Trey Lance if he comes out and smashes this week, which I expect him to do. And I expect that Trey Lance would be more than a streamer starting in week 7 and beyond. This is your last chance to get Trey Lance. Is AJ Green over D-Hop confirmed? Man. AJ Green looks good, doesn't he? I think Hopkins is dealing with some injuries. I know last game, before last week, he was a game time decision. He came out and played. But more than that, I think Kyler Murray is just playing out of his mind. Because, yeah, AJ Green's had a great season. He's had a couple really good games, but so has Rondale Moore. So has Christian Kirk. Max Williams got in the end zone this week. So, no, I'd still rather start DeAndre Hopkins every week that he plays. Because he's DeAndre freaking Hopkins. But I would be hard pressed to say that any of these Cardinals pass catchers aren't flex worthy in season long. Maybe Rondale Moore, not as much. He kind of feels like more of a boomer bust dart throw. But Christian Kirk, AJ Green, they're getting enough targets. You can absolutely start them in your flex. I wouldn't start them over DeAndre Hopkins. If I was looking at my team and I had a choice to start AJ Green or DeAndre Hopkins, I would still start DeAndre Hopkins. It's a good question. All right, let's take a look at week 5 real quick. The storyline that I'm looking forward to the most this week, these rookie quarterbacks as a whole, You know, Trevor Lawrence, I just talked about, he's in the best matchup of the year so far for him. I'm just interested to see how it turns out. Can Trey Lance succeed? I just told you about how I feel about him, but is it going to show up on the field? Does Matt Nagy stick with Justin Fields? They got to win this week. Is he going to stick with him? Mac Jones. I think he looked really good against the Tampa Bay defense. And now he's got an easy matchup. Why didn't Bill Belichick go for it on 4th and 2? A 56-yard field goal in the pouring down rain? You had the time. I know it was 4th down, but damn. It's hard to question a Hall of Fame coach such as Bill Belichick. But I think he could have got this. I think you go for it there. 56-yarder in the pouring down rain is tough. Also, I think Bill Belichick had I think Bill Belichick had Tom Brady's number last night. I think he did. All right, let me hit this real quick. Have both Green over Aguilar. Yes. If you have both D Hop and AJ Green against this 49ers team this week, I would definitely start both of them over Nelson Aguilar. Aguilar looked okay last night too, and they got a good matchup. That's what I was just talking about with Mac Jones. They got a good matchup, but it's still the Patriots. They're going to play defense, right? Run the ball. Give me the weapons from Kyler Murray. The other last quarterback, Zach Wilson. Can he get his second straight win? You know, I just these rookie quarterbacks in general. We might see 5 rookie quarterbacks this week. I want to see how they go. That's my top storyline for week 5. I want to see how these rookie quarterbacks fare. I'm going to talk about get into my early favorite plays for DFS here. Got about 5 more minutes here. If you got any other questions, throw them in the chat. Who are you playing here for DFS? I'm going to pull this up one more time. Take an early look at some pricing for next week. The big dog, Derrick Henry, went up $200. He is just about out of the range that I want to play him in, honestly. This week, one thing that really stood out to me when I was looking over this morning is the wide receiver position. No Stephon Diggs, no Tyreek Hill, no Rams or Seahawks pass catchers, no Kupp, DK, Tyler Lockett. These guys are all not on the main slate this week. It only leaves Devontae Adams as the only above 8K. Justin Jefferson's right at 8K. I think it could be a week to pay up for a couple running backs and then really hammer these mid 7K guys at wide receiver this week. We'll see how the week turns out, but it's kind of what I'm thinking about so far. But going over to quarterback, one of my favorite things to stand out is this Sam Darnold against the Eagles, 7,600. This Eagles defense is really bad. He's the 7th quarterback on the slate in terms of price. He's a really good cheap cash option if you want to go that route. I don't really like a lot of these other guys. I like Hurts, obviously, against Carolina, and I really like Kyler. I don't like Tom because he doesn't have rushing ability. Dak hasn't been rushing much this year. Rodgers, maybe. I don't know. I don't really like him in cash, though. So it might be a Sam Darnold or Kyler Murray kind of week, or Jalen Hurts in the middle, I guess. But I like Sam Darnold. He's the cheapest cash option I like. This Philly defense has been carved up the last 2 weeks by Dak and Mahomes. And obviously it's Dak and Mahomes, but Sam Darnold's held his own so far in Carolina. It's a good value. I think it's a really good value there at 7,600. Running back that I like this week is Dalvin Cook. I was talking earlier, and we were talking about how none of us talked about David Montgomery last week. We didn't really know why. Like, why didn't we have David Montgomery against this Lions defense? I didn't really think about it. And it was a miss because this Lions defense is a defense we should be targeting every single week. Dalvin Cook hasn't been great this past week, and he was out the week before, so maybe less people are going to be on this week. We'll see, but he's $1,400 cheaper than Derrick Henry, who is in another smash spot. Like, we're not going to act like Derrick Henry can't destroy the Jacksonville defense. But I like Dalvin Cook this week. I like that a lot. He's probably going to be my cash running back for sure. I mean, not for sure, but potentially at this point. Right now, if I was setting my lineup right now, he'd be my cash game. I really actually kind of like a nice Dalvin Cook, Minnesota defense secondary stack. I told you earlier I was going to give you a secondary stack I like this week. I like that Dalvin Cook, Minnesota defense secondary stack at home in the Dome. Give me that in tournaments and in cash. A wide receiver that I like this week, I'm going to go a little deeper, even in cash, and this isn't necessarily something I do often, but there's one wide receiver who has 7 targets in 3 of the 4 games they played, and they just lost one of their top wide receivers in DJ Chark, and that's Laviska Shenault. Where's he at here? Right here, 5,800. And guess who he's playing against? That same Tennessee defense that we've been talking about. 5,800 is a really nice price tag. I also don't mind the Marvin Jones price tag here. Here's Marvin Jones. Get my internet to work. Marvin Jones, 6,600. I don't mind that either, but I like Visca at 5,800. Super cheap. He's an easy cash play. Again, 7 targets. He did very well this past week with Trevor Lawrence once DJ Chark went out. So I'm going to fire up Visca probably this week. That'll kind of be a Sam Darnold, Dalvin Cook, Laviska Shenault. That gives you a nice, clean start to a cash build. And then once, like always, you're going to go get Darren Waller, George Kittle, who's been sad this year. Dalton Schultz. Oh, goodness, 6,200. That's gross. I just saw that. That was the first time I've seen that. Yeah, there's a lot to decipher here with tight ends. I assume I will come way down here and play some of these cheap guys. Maybe even Tyler Conklin again a couple times, not in cash, but maybe Zach Ertz in a cash. He did okay last week, so we'll see what tight end. But those are the 3 guys I like so far in DFS for this week. All right, I am over time. I am going to get out of here, go sweat the rest of Monday Night Football. I don't think I've got anything going well right now for any of my lineups. Looks like I'm still out of the money. So let me let it load. Let's see what happens real quick. Okay, so Eckler did catch that pass from Herbert, so that was nice. So gonna need some Kenny Drake, Bryan Edwards this second half. We'll see if it happens. I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you all for joining me. Thank you for joining me in the chat. If you're on Facebook or Twitter watching us, come on over to YouTube. I appreciate you watching, but come on over to YouTube and jump in the chat and just interact with us. Get your questions answered each and every week. Monday nights, 8:30 Central. The Rumbles of Red on YouTube. You can find me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Most Tuesday mornings, the podcast will come out. Go take a listen over there. 5-star review. Subscribe, please. Subscribe on YouTube. Hit that like button. And follow me on Twitter at Trev's Fantasy Pod. Follow me on Facebook, The Rumbles of Red. I'm anywhere you can go right now and just having a blast. And the more you all join in, interact, just the more fun it is. So I appreciate all your support. And until next week, good luck in week 5, and I'll see you next Monday.